The one thing you must do when you have a beef with an airline. When an airline does you dirt or fails you, complain not just to the airline, but to the Department of Transportation, too. That's the clear take. This conclusion is based, to a large part, on the results of proposals for rulemaking submitted by an assortment of consumer advocates. One of the most recent rejected the proposal, using the basic argument that the department had received very few consumer complaints about unreasonable international ticket exchange fees and that it therefore saw no reason to act. If observed similar, to be fair, has occasionally used similar reasoning to the benefit of consumers. Decades ago, we make sure your complaint has a focus on something the airline is really doing wrong. If your flight is I am not in favor of comprehensive re-regulation. Deregulation has brought plenty of consumer benefits. But airlines are you can submit complaints to online by phone at 202-366-2220, or if you still use snail mail, to Aviation Consumer Protection Division, C-75, U.S. Department of Transportation, 1200 New Jersey Avenue Southeast Washington, D.C. 20590. Seldom acts to resolve on most individual complaints, but submitting a send email to Ed Perkins @ Also, check
Raindrop, drop top, smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up in the park pot.